Welcome to yet another episode of Our Hatchery Life. And today we have Paul Allard with us from Impact Ratings. I guess not Impact Finance, but Impact Ratings. And we're going to go pretty much through the same routine with him of asking him who he is and what he thinks the problem is and what he thinks, what is he doing about it. And I also have Jose Leal with me, and we'll be asking questions and just having a conversation with Paul. So with that introduction, why don't you introduce yourself, Paul, and give us a little snap of who you are and where you've been.
With pleasure. So I'm a Canadian, and you see my cabin. It's Canadian wood. And I was born in Winnipeg, so Midwest, and I have an engineering background. I'm a cellist by training also, and I have an MBA in finance. And I started my first tech company in the same time Jose was involved in the tech world. So I won't say, but over 20 years. So, and one of the things I like to say is that I remember I was fresh out of the MBA in finance, and I worked a year with an investment banker to have my tech company that I had founded going public. And I thought I knew everything in finance until I lived that year of experience of understanding that what was done in the real life in finance has nothing to do with what we learned in school. And that's why I learned pump and dump. I learned short selling, triple CDOs, swaps, and go on and so forth, which was I couldn't believe that. And this is where in 2000, when we listed the company I was running, I got a real interest in understanding everything on finance and trying to understand what was the problem.
So what is the problem? from your point of view, what do you think is the problem? And not just the problem in finance, but we're also interested in what is going to kill us first.
Yeah.
You know, so
that's
somewhere around there.
Well, if today, as a society, humanity is facing its biggest challenges worldwide. Should it be environment challenges? It's the wealth distribution, biodiversity, go on and so forth. But if we go back, one of the biggest problem and that led us on this cliff is the over financial economy in which we are transitioning. That's the good news. Are we transitioning fast enough? That's another question. But the real question, and that's what I started to look and read everything I could read about money creation, about central banks, about investment bankers, about rating agencies, insurance, and go on and so forth. And that's understanding how we got there. And in order not to repeat the mistake and using the same recipe and expect a different result. So how do we got there? So if we go back, before getting into the economy, what I call the financial economy era in which we are transitioning, we were in the industrial economy, but we shifted to the financial economy in 1971 when Nixon decided to simply get rid of the Bretton Woods Accord that was signed by all the countries after the Second World War to stabilize the economies and tries to have something more fairer. And since then.
So to explain this thing that all countries had signed was about having gold as the basis for value and then dollars and francs.
Correct. And there was a reason for that. The reason for that, it was to make sure that the financial economy had at least a link with the real economy. And this disappeared over a couple of years. So what happened in 71, there was a crisis afterwards where a first bank in Germany collapsed, and they created this ball committee in Switzerland, where all the I hate to say that, but old white men, non-elected white men from the eight richest country in the world, decided how to deal about with public debt. So, in a very short, long story short, what led us to the neoliberalism, what we call the religion of Milton Friedman, was now the only religion in which everybody needed to believe. The schools, the people, everybody thought that was the rule. But in real fact, the Milton Friedman theory never were observed as being a reality. So what happened in a nutshell? The focus was to look at every organization wasn't to serve human beings or to serve a society, was to serve the financial economy. And the sole goal of every organization, whatever it was doing, it was to maximize profits. And this is where it led us to maximize profits and whatever the effects on people, on human beings, and on our environment. And today, instead of having, in Greek, economy means the organization of people, instead of having the organization of people in which there's the financial aspect, which is there to serve people and society, you have society serving the financial world. That's the world in which we are, which leads to Twitter catastrophe with Elon Musk and go on and so forth. That's another subject, but whatever. Yeah. So the problem is today is that which needs to be changed. We need our economic actors to take decisions not only on financial performance, which is important, but also on environmental and social performance. And what is an environmental and social performance is how an organization mitigates its negative impact on environment and social, and how it could, in some case, and accelerate the generation of positive impact on environment and social to catch up the 100 and 200 years of catastrophe that we've created as a collective human race.
Is it fair to say, Paul, that it's, I have this little phrase I like to say, which is serving life, that we stopped serving life and we started serving money? Is that pretty much a nutshell for you, what you just described?
Well said, Joseph. It's exactly it. We stop serving life, and not only human, because life in general, in which human thrives, without our ecosystems, there's no such thing as an economy, guys. There's no such things. So we need to come back to basics. And the problem today is that there's no obligation for every single organization. And in finance, they all have the obligation to publish once a year a very rigorous, transparent, audited financial statement every year. That's done. We need to come up with the same obligation to publish a rigorous, transparent, audited impact statement, saying how an organization does or does not mitigate his negative impact on the environment and social, and how does he generate positive impact. So that in coming back to where I see the transition going, we will be in what we call the impact economy, the day where every single actor will have no choice in terms of social permit to operate, to take into account not only the financial statements, but the impact statements in order to acquire products in their supply chain, in terms of investing, in terms of lending, in terms of taxing, in terms of imposing and going and so forth. This needs to be used by every single economic actor in our society if we want to survive. As simple as that.
So I'm confused because you're in finance, and so what are you? Aren't you making it worse, or what are you doing that? Okay, so what are you doing that would make it better?
Well, we're serving the finance sector, but we're a B Corp corporation, and we're a impact mission. And impact ratings is there to provide the financial sector, which has the power to redirect capital towards those organizations that are in transformation and are generating positive impact. But to do so, to take a better decision, they need to have clarity on who's doing what and to avoid the bullshit and the greenwashing actually in the market. So what we're providing them with is an impact statement based on the best consensual open source standard in the world called the Impact Management Project, for them to take better decisions in terms of not only their risk, but also the environment risk and their reputational risk, and to make sure that the bankers and the investors stop investing in those that do not want to transform and do mess up with environment and social, and invest and support those companies transforming towards more sustainability.
But isn't ESG kind of like that, or that thing also? I'm playing stupid. So
Yeah, I know that's a perfect question though.
go ahead.
So we've in coming back a bit on the macro level, we see major change in society when there's 2-3 things converging at the same time. First, change of mentality, and we've seen with the ESG, the sustainable change, the SDGs, the Sustainable Development Goals of UN, over the 15-20 last year, we've seen a portion of our society change and say it makes no sense, we need to change. So the mentality has evolved over, and that takes time. But it's not sufficient to see a real change. The other thing that is exciting, I think we had a few crises at the same time collectively worldwide over the last 2 years. So that brought together the perfect storm to really impulse a change. So that's my first thing. So coming back to what you were saying, ESG was the first generation efforts of trying to understand the environment, social, and governance aspects of an organization trying to do good, was a first initiative. But like Netscape, it wasn't there it was a nice effort, but it doesn't deliver the goods. So ESG 1.0, as practiced up to now by a lot of actors, is not rigorous enough, is not complete, is not transparent, is not serious enough to avoid the greenwashing, the impact washing that has been happening. So what we see in the market today, interesting enough, the regulators in Europe, the big players as insurers that sees that there's a real risk in terms of environment and more floods and more crises, they want and they're asking now finance and corporation to get really serious finally when they deal with extra financial data, meaning environment and social data. So today, ESG 1.0 is dying and replaced by ESG 2.0, which is an impact analysis, the way we practice it since 2018. And our bet in 2018 was to choose the Impact Management Project as the leading framework that we chose it because it's a transparent and open source framework that is as rigorous as it can be, and is also a consensual framework. So we did the bet in 2018, not knowing if we would win this bet. But today, de facto, the IMP is the framework that every single regulators worldwide, every big corporation, and now the ESG data 1.0 providers are switching to the IMP. So this is good news today.
Is that do you think IMP is the Google Chrome of this, or do you think it is the Internet Explorer, yet another step towards the right direction?
Well, the way it's framed, the IMP is framed like Google Chrome in terms of it's an open standard that evolves with time. It's not stuck into a black box like Explorer. I like your analogies. We're talking the same age here. So Explorer wasn't there to evolve rapidly enough. It was a closed black box, whereas the IMP is you can be a contributor to get this framework evolved. And it doesn't say exactly how you should do things precisely. It gives you the principles, such as you need to look, when you do an impact assessment, you look at 100% of their core activities. You don't look at what they give just to look good and what their donation in such and such cause to look good. You look at their core activities. Secondly, you look at the double materiality, meaning you look at how they mitigate their negative impact on environment and social related to their sector. And you do a differentiator, and major differentiator, with how their business model generate positive impact or does not generate a positive impact. And after that, you take these indicators and you need to contextualize those. And this is huge different, because an absolute number, you know what it means. It absolutely means nothing or everything. So in ESG 1.0, you did not contextualize the indicator. You just look at the efforts without looking at the result. And they say, hey, I've saved 2,000 tons of paper. Is that good or bad? I've got no idea. In what sector, in what geography, in what period, what was
compared
it
to what?
Compared to what? And this is why the IMP is so powerful. It says the big framework rules, and all the indicators needs to be improved on a yearly basis. And the science-based database in which we base ourselves in health or in industrial or any sector are evolving at different paces. But the IMP will be and is today the main framework on which every regulations and every countries are basing their regulation, their frameworks.
So okay, you said regulations. So, but you said that companies want it, but they need to be regulated. In other words, they need to be forced to do it. Which is it?
Well, I think that you can't expect, and I have gray hair. At least I have hair, guys. But
I have no hair.
But we know that, in fact, companies won't move if it doesn't hurt in terms of their survival, meaning their on terms of cash, and if they're not obligated, if it's not mandatory. So I think it's a combination of both. Today, companies understands that in order to be funded, in order to be to have better staff, in order to have a better clientele, in order to they need to transition towards sustainability. It becomes more and more a new social permit to operate. And if you add to that some regulations, these two combining together will make it mainstream. It's not a if, it's a when, and how soon in different countries. And here in the United States and North America, including Canada, we're 2 to 3 to 5 years later than what's happening in Europe. But I know we're quick, we're fast, we'll catch up. And when we see that it's an opportunity, it's a business opportunity also. And I like to say that the SDGs, the Sustainable Development Goals, if I'm a new entrepreneur, and that's what I say to the students I speak to once in a while, I say the best business plan is to try to address one of these SDGs. That's the future, guys. That's the future.
So the work that Matt and I have been doing is really more on the inside of the organization than the organization's work outside. And how does impact ratings look at that? Because one of the things that we think is part of this big problem that is amassed. It starts at the root, which is people in the organization being forced to do whatever the company wants them to do, and creating the trouble that we've created.
Absolutely. So
So
if we, yeah, your question, go ahead.
yeah, so is impact looking at the structure and the organization itself and the people in the organization? Because it's not just the impact that the company is doing externally, but what's the company doing to the people in the community that it's in?
Well, in an impact assessment, it all starts from the internal processes and the internal governance of an organization. And after that, it's supply chain. And after that, the external thing. So I think coming back to our philosophies, if we want to impulse a systemic change again, if we start by having the financial sector being obligated to use and to have and to ask their clients or their portfolio companies to have this impact assessment, and that could also be used as a perfect dashboard for these companies to transform, which is the case because there's recommendations and saying, here's what's the plan to improve. Don't listen to your marketing team. They're bullshitting your way through, but go back to the basics and look at what is material in terms of how you should mitigate or improve your mitigation and how you could inspire yourself in generating positive impacts by transforming your model. Here are some sectorial examples. This is what a good impact assessment should do. And that's what I think we do and provide to the companies that uses impact assessments. And so it's a combination. If we want companies at one point to start transforming, they need to see, because as you guys know, a startup, it has two priorities. The first one is cash, and the second one is cash. The one comes from funding, and the second one comes from clients. And if you demonstrate to the companies that are in growing that if they do an impact assessment and they start their transformation, they will be attracting more talent, more clients, more funders. Well, we're on the right route. But to do so, they have a common language. This impact assessment speaks to the financial sector because that's what they use for them to choose to who they lend and to who they put money to invest in.
Okay.
To evaluate, in essence.
Yeah.
A stick to measure by.
Yeah, correct. And compare apples to apples. It's like, and I come back to what we've done in the financial sector properly, is to have the same, you're in Australia or you're in China, you pretty much have the same way to read the financial statements and the performance every year after year. And this is what we need for internal reason, because when you manage a company, it's with this dashboard, the same dashboard that you present to your bank and to your investors. It's the same product, the same pretty much organization. That's what we need to achieve in terms of the impact assessment in order to really have a systemic change and be in that situation of an impact economy where even your local government, your governments will not only tax you according to an impact performance, the financial performance, but maybe taxing you less if you have a very strong impact performance, and will tax those people with negative impact performance compared to others. And this is a future.
So is the future, but it's not now, right?
No, it's
taxes
not now.
are not involved. Okay.
But we're getting there. I'm pretty confident. I'm always positive. I wouldn't be an entrepreneur if I was not over positive.
That must be the reason you have hair. So so what Jose started talking about, that we care about, we know more and speak more about what's inside the company, what society is very important. And the other thing that I noticed with the outside, when you present to clients and stuff like that, they're somewhat interested interested in how you treat people. And for example, I founded a company that got to be very big and very successful. And we, at some point in the conversation, we said, we are self-managed. And the response was, oh, good. Knowing that there was nothing behind, these people didn't understand for the most part what it meant. And I went to explain what what it meant. And they went, oh, okay, that's good. That's good. You treat people well. That's good. That's good. But that's as far as they go. And then later, when people spoke up and got involved and said no and things like that, they would reach back at me and go, these people are saying they don't want to be up at 3 a.m. fixing things. And said, well, I talked to them. And they were surprised. That was my response. To be fair, in more than half of the cases, they liked it and they went, no, okay, that's a good point. I'm going to talk to them. So they're good people. They're not bad people, but what they're used to is giving orders and things like that. So, and the other aspect of that, the reason they can give orders is because they're the boss, right? Control your livelihood, control your salary, control whether you're employed or not. I control what kind of reference I'm going to give you. So I pretty much control it. And that seems to be at the root. And that's why radical, we call it radical, not because being radical and different want to kill anybody, but because it's going back to the roots. Although sometimes I feel like killing people, but that's a different. And so I don't see how, honestly, I don't see how that from the outside without full transparency is going to make us slightly better. I mean, the hole in the ozone finally got fixed after 30 years. And because people came to agreements and stuff like that. So things are trending to the better. There's no question about it. We're better now than in the 1800s or 1900s or even 1950 when I was born. But I don't think we're going fast enough. I think we're going to go over the edge. And we're going to run out of gas and
Yeah.
go over.
That's a real question because my daughter asks me, what do you believe is, well, what personally I believe in is that I tend to be of your opinion, Matt. We're not going fast enough. Decision making is too slow. All the BS that is happening at COP 27, at COP 15. But at the other hand, what I answer also is I say, I wouldn't see myself not trying and not contributing at a maximum of my effort. I would not live with myself without at least trying. Yes. And that's that. And I live happier by at least giving it my best shot. And that's I'll be dying. I said, at least I tried, guys. I did try my best shot. And that's what should motivate people, because it's a never-ending story. And with the news, and when you look when you try to do something good and it takes years, and one dumb asshole comes with a bad decision without saying who ran the United States, but it destroys everything in few decisions. It's panicking. And it's not only United States. You see that in Brazil, what happened to the forest. You see that. So sometimes it's discouraging. But I think that the positive thing is that we're enough people wanting good and working every day and towards good that the critical mass, the tipping point, will get there at one point. Will it be too late? Well, some say we're already too late. We'll need to deal with the effect now. So.
Yeah, I think what Matt was pointing to there, Paul, I just wanted to get this as maybe the final thing that we can arrive at before we close up. The work of changing the inside of organizations and the work of changing how organizations govern themselves collectively, which is the work that you're doing, is really they go hand in hand.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
We need to do the inside and we need to do the outside. And I think one of the interesting conversations is actually bringing those two worlds together. What is happening on the inside from the people, from the organizational, from the operational, from the governance? What are the changes that are emerging there to communicate with the changes that are being done on the external, sort of this meta level of governance at an industry and a global level?
Can't agree more. And just to finish on that, at Impact, we have a transversal organization where we're not organized with this pyramid, the traditional pyramid, which has its challenge, but which provides us with more resilience and really extracts the collective intelligence that is within each individuals. And each individuals are way more happier and when they come to work, they see it's part of their lives. And that's, I totally agree with you. But I think that one step at a time, and to that effect, B Corp is a wonderful support in order to achieve what internally we should do in transforming on a day-to-day basis. So B Corp, I like what they do a lot.
It's a step in the right direction.
Yeah, it's not perfect.
We would look at it as Netscape, and which is good. We needed Netscape before we got anywhere else.
Yeah, for sure.
Or Mozilla, let's say.
Yeah. Firefox? No.
So thank you, Paul. Thank you very much. It's been a very good conversation, and
well,
maybe we can come back one more time and dig a little deeper into B Corps and the work that's happening, the bridge between these two worlds.
Yeah, correct. It would be a real conversation. Thank you so much, and Happy New Year, and the best wishes for health and happiness, and the rest will come.
And it stopped raining here in California, so
yeah.
So
I see a bit of sunshine. It's about time. Yeah.
Yeah, we're happy. So the next guest next week is Ana Mendoza, training professional, and she's in Lisbon, Portugal. So she's going to be up fairly late, and we'll be talking to her then at same time, same day next week, and really commend everything you're doing, and I think you're in the right track. So
thank you so much, guys. It's a pleasure.
Thanks again, Paul.